Now, to be honest, I've had a bit of tachycardia the whole day. It was a bit of a struggle, and putting it out there on the internet and felt, oh my gosh, the length on the bra is so short because it was barely covering under my bust. Hi sewing friends, I'm Karina from liftingpinsandneedles.com. Welcome to this channel that is all about sewing, limitless sewing, and today specifically sports bra sewing, which is a first for me. I'm sure a lot of you have not made such a garment before, or maybe you have, maybe you're experts. I think there is a large group of people that sew out there that have not even considered making a garment like this, and I was one of them until maybe a year ago, when I started having a really strong desire to try, but I was limited in the resources. I couldn't find certain notions that I needed, like clear elastic and power net, and things that I thought were going to be important for me to get a nice result. If you've been following along, you know that this sports bra belongs to a mini series, a perfect fit capsule wardrobe. It's a really mini collection, only 5 items, and this is the 4th garment in this collection. These are all GreenStyle creation patterns. The first make was a cami tank, which I achieved a no bounce effect. Second garment was the elevate overlay, tick, done. The third garment was the flare leggings that I've shared with you in the previous video in a blue version. Super nice. And today is the sports bra day, and it's one I've been looking forward to but also dreading, but I'll touch on that in a little bit. The sports bra pattern I chose was the Power Sports Bra. It's a pattern I've had for years. In the line out here you see a lot of options, and it could look overwhelming, it could look confusing maybe, but it's really easy to just break it down. They all have a round neckline. There is a higher neckline option and a lower neckline option. In the front they are all the same. All the options are exactly the same in the front. There's a side, and a center. You have princess seams there. The main difference is actually at the back. You have a full racer back that gives you a lot of coverage. That racer back has a long strap that comes forward over to the front and is enclosed into the front piece there. You can cut out a little keyhole and finish that with binding, and you can even put a pocket so you can store things on your upper back. Then you have a U-back strappy back, which is another type of back where you could put little straps that go straight down your back, or you can crisscross them. All these narrow straps that you sew with your fabric are stabilized with clear elastic inside. The other back option is just a straight out sort of piece and lots of little straps that crisscross each other. I have mentioned before that while the Perfect Fit Capsule Challenge is running from GreenStyle, all the patterns are marked down 25% off if you use a special coupon code found in their blog post. I will link that blog post down below so you can go and see the coupon code. Maybe you want to get the Power Sports Bra through the 12th, you can get it for 25% off. Now, in yesterday's video about the flare leggings, I forgot to mention that the flare leggings are discounted for the whole month of March, 15% off. So you'll see that discount on the screen. And if you put the coupon code, then it will go down further 25. Price ends up being extremely friendly. I don't know why I forgot to mention that yesterday, but anyway, I thought I'd mention it today. The links you find in the description box are my affiliate links, of course. I do receive a small commission back if you purchase through there, and that is one of the ways you can support my work here on YouTube. You need athletic knits that have at least 50 to 75% stretch vertically and horizontally. This is designed to be a lined garment, so you need your main fabric and a lining fabric. You could self-line, you could use the same or use another type of material. In my case, I've used swim fabric, and for one of them I've used a suplex, which was similar to the main fabric. And if you want extra support on the front pieces, you can put a layer of power net, and that is exactly what I've done. I didn't put the power net on the back. I didn't really think it was needed. Optional things that you can have also are bra cups. They could be removable or you can fix them in place. At the moment, I don't have any bra cups left, so I'm trying to source some that will fit my cup size. I knew from the get-go that foam bra cups were not going to be in this garment at all, but they might be in the future. Also, there is an option to make the straps adjustable. You can add an adjustable clasp that comes apart, or you can use sliders. There is a myriad of other notions that I do not have, that when I saw them there, I just my eyes just sort of like blurred over those things because I know I'm not going to be using that. But if you have those tools, maybe you want to make those options. I've used polyamide and spandex for both of my bras. I've made 2, by the way. The first fabric you've already seen because I've made it for multiple items. I had the tiniest of scraps left, and it was enough to pull out this muslin bra, and it's this purple and pink with black sort of leopard print. I don't know what it is that I've made the sundial leggings with, and the muslin for the cami tank a few days ago. So I've made a power sports bra with that fabric. That's awesome. And then for my main fabric, you know, I was pondering between two prints that were blue because they fit within the color scheme of my capsule collection, and I didn't know what to do. I had them there for days and days and days, so I just put them up on a poll on my Patreon page and let my patrons decide which fabric, and they decided on a really pretty tropical blue print. I was very happy with their choice because I really could not make up my mind. The sizing is going to work for a lot of people because you have the band size, which is what goes underneath the bust. That's from 27 inches to 46 inches. My band size at the moment is 40 inches. I don't have a large cup size. My cup size is a D for this pattern in these measurements. Please take your measurements, take your underbust and your full bust measurement, compare the difference and see on the chart what bra cup size you are. This is a sports bra and it's using a bra cup. Usually when we make blouses or tops and things that just go over the bust, it's different because we're using a sewing bust cup size. This is actually a bra cup size. Don't look at your bra and just assume that you are that same size. All my bras are a C cup, all of them. I have never ever needed to purchase a bra in the shops that is a D cup. They are all C cups. But when I took my measurements, I'm a D cup, so I made a D cup, and I'm glad I did. I know the C cup would have been small for me. The cups go from A all the way through to H, so it's going to work for a lot of people. If you look at the design of the bra in this area, there are optional lines on the pattern to give a little more coverage in this area for bands 40 and up, and for cups F, G and H. That's not my cup size, mine is a D. I am a 40 band, but on my cup size that extra coverage line is not provided, but you can still see it on the pattern. And I was very open-minded, you know, I was very happy to go and adjust this if I needed, but I made my muslin as per the original, just cut my D cups and sewed them. And I was going to check with the fit of the muslin whether I needed to add more coverage here or not. But I knew that the option was there in the pattern that would give me a reference as to how I could adapt my pattern pieces. Of course, I have some sewing for you. I sewed both of my bras in the exact same way. I sewed my muslin first, got really comfortable with the way that I was going to put this together. And then I filmed my final version for you so you can see how to put it together. It's way faster than you think. Way easier than what you think, even easier than what I thought it was going to be. There's nothing really complex about it at all. So let's go ahead and see the sewing. It'll show you the whole thing. I haven't really skipped steps that I haven't filmed. So let's hop in to see how to sew this sports bra in Up Close and So Personal, the sewing segment of my channel.
Don't you think this is starting to wear on me? You've been rated down like hell.
These are the pattern pieces I need to make my power sports bra. Now this is the main fabric, you can see the print there. This is my back piece, I'm doing the racer back version, and this racer back version already has a strap incorporated here. So that's why you see that longer piece that will come over towards the front. These are the front pieces, the center front and the two side fronts. You can see the princess seams. Now this is my main fabric and it looks black on the other side, and that's because I have already got the layer of power net basted on, so it will act as one piece. I've done that by hand. I'm only going to use the power net on the front pieces for this bra, so just on these pieces. By basting the power net on, I can forget it's there. I can just treat it as one piece, and essentially these four pieces will compose my main. And the navy pieces that you see here are exactly the same, but those are going to be the lining pieces there. This is the band that will go at the bottom. This is size 40. According to your band size, this will be longer or shorter, and that is the elastic. This elastic is almost 2 inches. It's not exactly 2 inches. I'd say it's like 1 3/4 inch. That's what that is. So that band is designed to be made with 2-inch elastic. So I just cut it a little bit narrower just to adjust to this type of width that is not an official width in the pattern. In the pattern you use 1.5 or 2-inch elastic, but mine's like 1 3/4. For the lining you use the exact same pattern pieces as you do for the main fabric. The only difference is that after you've cut them out, you need to trim off the bottom by 1/4 inch for all the pieces. You can see an image of me trimming out 1/4 inch seam allowance from one of these lining pieces. You do that for the center front, for the side front, and for the back piece the same. Done a bit of pinning here. I have the lining, and here I have the main pieces. You can see the princess seams. This is a D cup size, that's what I'm sewing. The curve will be different and will have more volume according to the cup size you're making. You can see how the power net and the main fabric are just acting as one piece. So I'll just be serging these, just being careful to keep everything nice and neat. When I serge, I'll be trimming a little off because the seam allowance is 3/8. So it's basically 4 princess seams at this point. This is not a seam I'm rushing through. I'm going slowly to keep it even, not get any puckers. You are joining a concave and a convex curve together, so time is worth it here. The amount of fabric you're seeing being trimmed off is about 1/8 of an inch here when I'm serging. That's to keep it 3/8 accurate. Okay, so this is how this seam is going to look. You can see I still have some basting stitches that you can see there. They can fly off once I'm done with all the seams. I'll just repeat for 3 more princess seams, and then what comes next is pushing the seam allowance towards the center, and then from the right side of the fabric I'll be top stitching. Here's the lining piece. It's the exact same thing. You can see I've marked the wrong side of my lining with chalk. There is one side that I find softer, so that is the side I want to be the right side, and that is what is going to touch my skin in the end. I'm not going to be top stitching the lining, that's just personal preference. I'm only going to be top stitching the main pieces. I'll be using my twin needle here to top stitch. I'll be using a 3.5 stitch length, also a little longer, also because I'm sewing through several layers. I personally don't like a zigzag. You could use a zigzag if you wanted to. If you have a cover stitch, then that would be a nice option, but the twin needle will work also. I think that looks really nice. You always get a little zigzag at the bottom, so you will be able to stretch and use the seam nicely. No stitches are going to pop. You can see the shaping and the volume you're creating for the bust inside there with the princess seam. I'll just repeat on the other side. This is the main, already sewn, top stitched, all ready to go. I still have all these edges basted together. Just leave them like that. It'll be handy for what comes next. Now we take our back piece. I'm just doing a single layer with this main fabric, no power net here, and we just place these right sides together, and now we can sew these side seams. This is the right side of my lining piece, and I take my back piece, place them right sides together, and sew these little side seams. Super simple side seams. For the main pieces, these side seams have 3 layers because the front pieces also have the power net. I'm also trimming a little off because I'm trying to keep the 3/8 seam allowance accurate. Then it's the exact same thing with the lining pieces. Having flipped your main layer right sides up with the nice pretty print looking at you, we're going to slide the main into the lining so that we have right sides together here. So we are looking at the seam there and the wrong side over there. So we are going to align everything. It's all the same. They are the same pieces all the way up to here. And remember, the back has already got the strap incorporated here. What we are going to sew now is everything together, but we are going to leave these open. This is going to be sewn up to there. This one also, but that's open. And on the front, you also have an area that's going to be open here. This is where the strap is going to come from and slide into there later. So I'll just take my time to pin, and then we can sew them together using the serger, and then I'm going to be sewing on the clear elastic. So you've seen me do this with a cami tank. I explained there in real good detail why I like to sew the elastic on its own afterwards with the machine using a zigzag stitch. Okay, here we have the back neckline. So I'm going to serge that one first. This is the front neckline here, so we serge that one also. When you pick up on the other side, this is the partial armhole. This is going to go from the front, go over the side seam. On the side seam, I have the seam allowances going in opposing directions, the same as I'm doing with the princess seams right there to get it more flat there. And then this goes off to the back armhole all the way up to the strap. So it's basically 4 seams. They are all curved. I've taken the executive decision to sew these with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. That just means I'll get a tiny bit of more cover everywhere. So that means that I'm not trimming anything away. I'm just sewing and keeping the blade out of the way. In this area, won't make any difference at all. I think you do need to be accurate in the side seams and the princess seams so that the garment fits as intended. But in this area, just sewing the seam allowance a little smaller is just going to make the neckline higher and the cover of the armholes higher, and that won't affect the fit. After sewing the front neckline, I've moved over to sew the back neckline, and this is a longer seam. Okay, I have both necklines sewn. Now I'm going to head over to the armholes, or the back armhole going through the side seam and finishing up here on the front. These two are longer seams. Make sure you're holding your fabric as you sew. Don't let it hang. Don't let this stretch. You're just serging them together. Don't be pulling and stretching this out. So that's one side done, and now we just repeat the same on the other side. Okay, here we have everything sewn together. This is the part when we sew the clear elastic with a sewing machine. I'm going to use a zigzag for that. And I have the bra flipped so that you can see the wrong side of the main fabric up. So what we have inside is the lining, and we want to sew the clear elastic on the wrong side of the main fabric. The main fabric here is my power net, and that's because I've doubled up here, but on the back it's easy to see. This is the main fabric. This is a step you can't skip. If you skip this and then you just flip this right sides out and try to wear it, your straps are going to stretch, okay? Your armholes are going to gape. It's just not going to be a good fit. This is the zigzag setting I'm going to use. It's just a medium-sized zigzag, not a big one, not a small one. 3 width, 3 length. Here is the clear elastic. It's quite firm. You're not supposed to stretch this as you sew it. This is supposed to provide structure there. So don't stretch it out as you sew, just put it there and sew it on top. If you watch my cami tank video, you will know why I want to sew this stage separately and not together. It's basically so I can manipulate this elastic so that the edge is over the seam by a tad, like 1/8 of an inch, so that when I flip it, this elastic is going to make the lining layer roll to the inside and not be seen. If I had serged them together, I would have a clean edge there, and then when you flip it, you could see the lining. What I'm sewing right now is the back neckline, so you get an idea of what I'm doing. Then I just go conforming the elastic to the curves that I'm sewing, always making sure the elastic is a tad past the seam there. I'm not stretching the elastic at all. There you can see that I've kept the elastic a little beyond that seam so that when I flip this, it's going to roll the lining towards the inside. Okay, all the clear elastic has been sewn in every single seam, and now we can flip this. Now this one will be open there on the front. Both sides are the same. I'm getting my finger through this actually, and then you can flip it. So this is what I mean about the elastic helping the seam roll to the inside. You can see that the lining is going to the inside. On this strap, there's elastic there, there's elastic there. It makes it really firm. It's not going to stretch as it would if it didn't have the elastic in there. So at this stage, if you wanted to, you could try it on, although it won't really tell you what the real fit is going to be because you don't have the band. I did try this one on with my muslin and felt, oh my gosh, the length on the bra is so short because it was barely covering under my bust. I thought, oh no, this is not going to fit right. But don't worry, this has a little vertical stretch. Once the band is on, everything's going to be fine. So you could try on at this stage and check that your strap is the right length. For me, this was exactly the right length, so I don't need to worry about that. To sew the strap in there, you're going to need to flip your front piece wrong sides out again. But we have the back that is still flipped over to the right side. And now we are going to take this strap and slide it in here. When you slide it, you're going to see that the right side of the strap is touching the right side of the front. So you have the pretty fabrics together. Make sure that stays like that all the way up to the top. And here on the top also, you have pretty fabrics touching pretty fabrics. And then on this side, lining touching the lining in it. And then we're going to sew across. And I'm just going to do this with a straight stitch. So again, we take the strap, we put it in through here, making sure you have the right sides of the fabric touching and the lining touching the lining there so you don't get a twisted strap. I'm also going to use just 1/4 of an inch seam allowance here, and I will be going back and forth to reinforce this. Before flipping this, I'm just going to cut away here a little bit of the seam allowance to get rid of some bulk. And now when we flip this, strap is going to come from inside and it's all enclosed. All that is left to do is sew on the bottom band. Now a step I've done before doing that is to just baste all the layers together. At the back we'll just have 2 layers, the main and the lining, but on the front we'll have 3 layers because the main and the power net have acted as one until now. This is the band. There's only one seam and this will go at the center back. I am going to be opening up this seam. I'm going to mark where the center front is here and then divide this in half again to mark it into quarters. Okay, one way you can sew the band onto the bottom of the bra is one that could be easier, but I know I'm not going to like what comes afterwards, and it's basically folding this lengthwise, wrong sides together, and then getting your bra, sewing the band on, right sides together, leaving a gap so you can thread your elastic through. Once the elastic is in, then you can close the elastic, put it in there and then close it. But that means that your elastic is going to be loose in there, which means it could twist and bend, and I don't want the elastic moving. I don't want to do that. So I've divided my band in 4 and I'm just going to put it aside for now. On the chart you'll find a reference of how long your elastic could be for your band size. For 40, which is the one I'm doing, it said cut your elastic between 31 and 34 inches. I tried it on and just without the tape measure just to see where I'm comfortable, and mine is actually at 34 inches, so I used like the higher measurement there. And what I'm going to do is just put these together like that and use a huge zigzag to sew these together. I don't want to overlap because that's bulky. So that is my zigzag, so that the zigzag can catch it here and then there and then like that, and then they are going to be pretty close together. So I went back and forth a couple of times, and you can see how firm this is. This is not going to come apart, and it's completely flat once you look at it like that. I want this join to be anyway. I don't want it to be at the center back, so I'm just going to offset it to the side. I'm going to choose this place as my center back and then divide my elastic also into 4. And now I want to put the elastic inside. I'm going to put this pin matching that pin to match the center back, so you can see this joint is going to be a little off that. And then I'm going to bring this, and I'm basically going to have the band wrapping over this elastic, and at the top I'm going to have a tiny amount that's not got the elastic there, but it's less than 1/4 inch, and that is how I'm going to serge all of this as one piece onto the bottom of the bra. But I will be catching the elastic when I do this, so you can see the next quarter of the elastic pretty much matches the next quarter of the band there, so I would say they are the same size. And then I'll just go ahead and pin everything else. Just make sure the elastic is already inside the band on the bottom. Okay, I've taken the time to just hand baste everything. The elastic is tucked in there. You can see I've caught it with my hand basting, so that's good. This is the center back seam, and I've just put a few pins to mark quarters here as well. These pins are going to match the side seams, and there's a pin that's going to match the center front. I did check that the bra had the same length front and back, so the side seams are actually references here. And then I just put pins in the center front and the center back. This is the back of the bra. You can see the racer back there. I've got it upside down. So this is where it's really hard to see the seam, but it's right there. That is going to match the center back pin right here. Then we have the next one matching the side seam. Then we have the next one matching the center front. Basically just pinning these 4 reference points together. You can see that my band is a smidge shorter than the bra, so when I serge this together I'll just stretch it slightly to match, but it's very, very slight. It's not much at all. I've just lengthened my stitch length over here on the serger also, and also the differential feed is a little higher. I am going to be sewing at 3/8, so I will be trimming a little bit, and that's going to ensure that I'm also catching that little bit of the elastic that I have on top here, and I'm always keeping all the raw edges together. See, I'm just stretching a tiny amount. It's very little. Just slow down when you get to areas of bulk like side seams and where the princess seams are. Okay, this is how that looks. The serged edge of the band to the bra. There is a bit of elastic caught in there, so the elastic is never going to move or get out of place. And now I want to keep this seam flat, keeping the seam allowance up like this. I'm going to top stitch right there on the edge using the twin needle also. I wouldn't want to press the seam allowance towards the elastic because then it's double the layers right there. So just keep this like that, extended, seam allowance pointing up. I'm just going to start at the back somewhere, and my stitch length is also a bit longer, 3.5 because of the layers. And I'm just going to try and sew as straight as I can. And after this is done, the bra is done. I'll slow down where there's areas of bulk at the side seams and the princess seam. This is my muslin. You've seen this fabric before. Now I literally have nothing left. I had shreds left of this fabric. I had enough for everything in this bra, so I'm really happy I got this bra. I could wear it with other garments that match, with my sundial leggings, or just wear it because it's awesome. This is the one that I made with the original cover here on the armholes and at the back, on the racer back. So I just wanted to see how this one fit before fiddling and trying to give myself more coverage, because there's no way you can know when you just look at the pattern pieces how they're going to fit. You just have to make one and try. And I had free scraps to play with. You know, it's not like I was wasting extra resources or anything. Now this is the racer back view that I made. I think it's the safest one, and definitely the option I wanted to try first before I go in and try all the little strappy back versions. I just don't know how much support I can get with those little straps, you know what I mean? But I thought this was going to be better for me. So it covers a lot of the back. The racer back is really nice. It's not super narrow. It doesn't constrict anything at the back. It's very comfortable. This goes all the way to the front and is enclosed there. You saw how that was done. At the bottom we have the band with the elastic in there. I did sew this band on a little different to what you see in the instructions. From what I can see there, the elastic would be sort of free in there, and it would move and twist if you move around too much, I thought. So that's why you saw me sew it in that way, where the top of the elastic is actually caught in the seam. It's not bulky at all. The seam allowance is pressed up, and I used the twin needle to top stitch that. Twin needle also here to top stitch the princess seam. I think you do need to top stitch that princess seam. You know, these fabrics don't press really well. It does need to be flat there for sure. I wouldn't want that seam to just be bubbling up and yeah. On the inside I have swim fabric. This is the back. It's all so neat and so clean. You know, there is clear elastic inside giving it structure. The little elastic trick that I showed you does really work because it brings the lining to the inside. I really like that. These 3 front pieces are the ones that have the power net, hand basted onto the main fabric, and then I just acted like it was one piece. Gives it much more support and structure here. Putting it together like this, for me, it's good for light to moderate activities. This is not going to be good for running at all. If I jump vigorously, there is bounce, of course. So I knew from the get-go what my goals were, and I can work out, I can do a spinning class, I can lift weights, I can go for a walk, I can wear it around the house. It's going to be perfectly fine. I feel perfectly supported and super comfortable. As soon as I made this one, I just left it on. I left it on for hours on end while I started cutting out my second version, and so nice. I mean, the feeling of having made this, trying it on, and see that the fitting I needed to do was so minimal. Look, I'm really silly. When I was cutting my pieces, I was a little distracted, and on my center front piece, I by mistake cut out the lower neckline option, and I didn't realize when I tried this on, I thought, wow, this is a bit revealing. It's not that revealing. I don't have a plunging neckline, but I would like it a little higher. I went back to look at the pattern piece. Yeah, sure enough, I'd cut the lower neckline and there is a higher neckline available. So I knew that the changes I wanted to make for my final bra version was to make the higher neckline, of course, which was what I always wanted to do. It's just that I was distracted, and definitely I wanted to add a little more cover to the armholes. So I filmed a little clip of how I played with the pattern pieces so you can see how I did it. So let's see. This is part of the back piece, and you can see this is the regular cut line there, and then there's another one for higher coverage. This is meant to be for larger cup sizes, but you can see this reference line on the pattern anyway if you click on the layers so you can see it. It's about ½ an inch higher, and then it goes curving in, and then it just goes up to there. But I made the curve a little wider here so it covers a little bit more. So taking that into account, it's the same I want to add to the side seam of the front. This is the front. If you put it like this, you can see that what I've added matches, and these are going to have the same length. When you look at it like this, you can see that's the amount I added to the regular cut line. And look, what I did was just add random pieces of paper to both of these, because this is the center front. I added paper around that area. I added lots of paper there, and then I made sure to pin them together right there, like on the edge. That's where the original seam would be, and also over here. And I made sure to pin it at the seam allowance, which is 3/8 here. So that's why you see all this bendy business going on. I wanted to make sure that I had both pieces united nicely the way it would be sewn. So you can see this is the curve, the original curve. And then this is the amount I added to match what was on the back. And then I just made a smooth curve that went up to the original width right here. This is going to be the original width. I don't want to mess with that. If I made this wider here, it would affect the strap coming from the back piece. When you sew the seam allowance is meant to go towards the center. So in this case, it'll be up like that. So I made sure to have the seam allowance going in the direction that I want it to be. Having these pieces together like this, as they would when they're sewn, that's when I trimmed away the final curve I had. That means that when I separate these, this has already been trued. You can see I get a funny shape there. If I cut this exactly like that, I can just place these together right on the edge and sew them together like that. So when I made my adjustment, I made sure to true the seam allowances also. This is my final version. Look how beautiful this print is. It's so amazing. I love it. I always knew that in this capsule collection I was going to have a print of sorts, and one of the leggings I want to make is going to be with this same print. So inside you see I have a navy blue lining. I didn't use swim fabric in this opportunity. I used Supplex. If you've seen my navy cami tank, that is the same fabric I've used to line this one. I have plenty of that fabric, so it was perfect, and I thought it was going to match better than using the black swim. And everything else is the same. Here is my band. You saw that on all these seams I used a 1/4 inch seam allowance instead of 3/8, and that's because I just wanted a slightly wider strap and slightly higher coverage. Why not? It doesn't affect the fit if you sew a smaller seam allowance in these seams. You do need to keep the proper seam allowance for the side seams and the princess seams and everything, but for this I was really fine going rogue a little bit to get a tad more coverage, you know, which for me makes a difference. The more the better, you know. I have the higher neckline here, which is great. You know, all those other options I do want to try. I just wanted to get my feet wet and do these. Just spend the time to get the feet right. And now I can have fun and experiment with others because I know that the D cup is going to work really well for me. I have already adjusted the armholes. I know that this is going to fit properly, and then I can have the fun doing other versions. And then it would be so easy. You can make these up real quick. It didn't take much time at all, believe me. And even though I was filming, it was way easier than what I thought it was going to be. Now, to be honest, I've had a bit of tachycardia the whole day, and even right now I can feel my heart thumping in my chest because I was really conflicted about how to show these to you. I was thinking just take flat lays, just show them to you like that and say I'm not going to model them. And I am in no way, shape or form doing any negative talk about my own body. I don't do that type of body shaming here on the channel. This is a really safe, positive space. And all my reservations have really got to do with a cultural thing maybe, or the way that I grew up. You know, I'm from Chile, and for at least in my generation, I'm in my 40s. You know, women don't wear bikinis. I never grew up. Everyone wore one-piece suits. Everyone. Like, you just grow up, you're a little girl, you wear one-piece suits, you go to the beach, you look around. And when I was a child, when I was a teenager, in my 20s, you know, maybe you'd see 2 out of 100 women wearing bikinis on the beach. It's just not a thing that people do, like, just really, really easily. And like, yeah, so I think it's mainly got to do with that, where all my barriers were. You know, I'm really happy to show my shoulders. You know, I'm not always covered up 100%. You know, I'm not happy to show cleavage. That is one thing for sure. But I've always thought of my midriff or my stomach area as sort of something that I just don't feel comfortable showing. I've never worn a bikini, and I've always been happy with my body. I don't have issues with that. It's just the fact that I'm just not comfortable showing my midriff, you know. So yeah, it was a bit of a struggle, and putting it out there on the internet, just be kind. I've just taken a leap and I'm going to show you how it fits. I'm focusing only on the bra. I'm just, maybe you'll see a sliver of my skin under the sports bra, and that's it. That's all I'm comfortable with for now, but I think that is enough. This is a sports bra video. You don't need to see my whole body. You don't need to see the whole thing. You can just see the bra, and I think I'm comfortable with just showing the bra. It's not a sexy bra full of transparencies, whatever. I feel I'm really well covered. I'm wearing a print. It's all good. So yeah, let's see how these fit. This is my muslin for the Power Sports Bra from GreenStyle, and I accidentally cut the lower neckline. I definitely need the higher neckline. I would love more coverage there, as well as a little bit more on the armhole, maybe about 1/2 inch. I have the full racer back option. I do have clear elastic in all the seams to give it a little support. As for the layers, it's fully lined, but on the front pieces I have interlined also with power net. I haven't used power net on the back, only on the front. And I find this band that has the elastic inside extremely comfortable. The cups fit amazing. I have a 40 band with a D cup size. I'm super happy. I love these colors, and it's almost there, almost there. That's what the muslin was for. Now I can perfect the final version. This is my second version of the Power Sports Bra from GreenStyle. For this one, I actually used the higher neckline option, which I should have done since the beginning. And I've added 1/2 inch higher to the armhole cover both in the front pieces and the back. The straps that you see here are wide and they come from the back racer back piece. The band with the elastic, extremely comfortable. I think this one provides adequate support for light to moderate activities. It's definitely not for running. It's fully lined. The front also has a layer of power net, so I have 3 layers in the front, and in the back I only have 2 layers. 40 band and a D cup size. I love the cover here, the feel, the comfort, the colors make me so happy, and I can see myself making about 1,000 of these. I'm very satisfied with this make. There you go, you can see my version. I hope it motivates you to make your own. Now that you've seen them both, you can tell the difference is really subtle in the coverage here, but I think it's substantial for me, the way I feel in it. So I can definitely wear my muslin even though it's a little lower cut than what I need, and there's a little bit more show here. All I need to do is wear a tank like this. I love this tank, it's really old, but it's got amazing coverage here. That means my bra can be a little lower and then it would be fine. So my muslin is 100% wearable. I'm really happy with it. But then the blue one is just what I wanted, and I'm so happy with it. If you've never sewn something like this before, I hope to have motivated you. I think the majority of you do not have YouTube channels, so the whole aspect of having to take photographs and share is going to be a non-issue for you, like it was for me during this whole process. While I was cutting, while I was sewing, all the time I had it in my head, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I don't feel comfortable. I don't feel comfortable. Just had a really good think and thought, you know, I do want to show you how this fits. And I want to do it in a way that shows it without showing too much. I have nothing against my stomach. It's mine. I live with it. I look at it every day, but it's mine. I think there are certain aspects of our body that we have all the right to be private about. Mine are my upbringing, cultural reasons, and they are really important to me. So I hope that is understandable. I will have a finale video showing you all my 5 garments all mixed up together in this little collection. I'm so happy with it. It's so cute. Love the colors. It turned out just like I imagined. Have a great rest of your day, and I hope you start looking for supplies to make your own sports bras. Bye, and happy sports bra sewing.